What's up, folks? It's your boy the Noob. So I'm pretty sure by now you've probably heard the news that Spider-Man may no longer be in the MCU. Now I'm sure some people are probably angry about it, and there's some that are probably confused. So I wanted to take a quick look at some of the history of Spider-Man, how we got to Sony owning it, how it got back into the MCU, and what might the future of Spider-Man be. So let's dive into this. Now, the first thing I've noticed that a lot of people on the internet seem to forget is Sony owns the rights to Spider-Man right now. See, back in 1999, while Marvel Studios was struggling, and this is not Marvel Studios the movie, Marvel Studios the comics. See, they were struggling financially, so they had to sell off a bunch of their franchises, and one of them that was bought was Spider-Man by Sony. It was then that we started getting some of those other Spider-Man films, the ones with Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield. See, the first one became really good. It was what, in my opinion, kind of helped the superheroes get back on the map. Unfortunately, then we had number 2 and number 3. Number 2, in my opinion, was the best one because Doc Ock, my favorite bad guy. I want to cosplay him so bad. But then you got number 3, which, And then we had the first reboot of Spider-Man, which involved Andrew Garfield. Now, this Spider-Man was a little younger, still kind of in what looked like, I guess, high school, maybe close to college. But I never quite felt like he was the right Spider-Man because he wasn't geeky. It was almost like they were trying to make him cool. And unfortunately, after The Amazing Spider-Man 2, it really went downhill. Now, you see, after 2 failed franchises of Spider-Man, Sony stopped for a little bit because they did not want to risk anything else. This gave Marvel the opportunity to somehow work Spider-Man back in the MCU. Now, they couldn't outright buy Spider-Man back. Sony was not going to give that up because they knew better, especially with the promise of superheroes going on. So a deal was worked out between Marvel and Sony at the time. This was, I believe, before Disney bought Marvel. Basically, the contract, the deal, the agreement was Sony basically leased out Spider-Man to Marvel Studios. They financially backed it, and they would be the distributors. But Marvel would take care of all the technical, the, hiring of the cast, the director, writing the story. Basically, Sony had the wallet, while Marvel had the idea. That is how we got Spider-Man swinging his way into Captain America Civil War, and we got Tom Holland as the latest version of Spider-Man. Now, everyone loved Tom Holland. I especially loved him because he just felt like Peter Parker, and that's when we got the first of the MCU Sony Spider-Man movies, SpiderMan Homecoming. And this was a commercial hit, and let's face it, with Michael Keaton playing the Vulture and Iron Man popping in and out through the movie, and Tom Holland just doing the role justice, we all knew it was a great hit. But there was more movies that Spider-Man was going to be popping into, especially not as just the main character, but as, one of the several characters. That's when he popped into Infinity War. And of course, there was that death scene at the end, which I don't care what anyone says, that hurt me more than anything.
Start? I don't feel so good.
You're alright.
I don't know what's happening. I don't know. Hurry. I don't want to go. I don't want to go, sir. Please. Please, I don't want to go. I don't want to go.
But we all knew Spider-Man would be back, especially since Tom Holland had a contract for several Spider-Man films in the future. So, of course, in Endgame, we got him swinging back, saving Iron Man, getting that great hug, which he really wanted.
What are you doing? Oh, this is nice.
It was great. But then we got the second Spider-Man Alone film, Far From Home, which was the end of the MCU Infinity Gauntlet saga. Kind of like the eulogy is what a lot of people have been calling it, and it was amazing. You had Tom Holland going against Mysterio, a character that no one ever really thought would become a movie villain, but somehow getting the actor Jake Gyllenhaal to play that role in such a way, it just came out mwah. And of course, if you've seen the film, you know at the after credits, there was that little scene with JJ, the news reporter, showing the clip that Mysterio doctored that framed Peter Parker for causing the drone attacks and killing Mysterio and revealing that he was Spider-Man. And that's where we left off. Now we are at the present point. This is where things get a little funny. Apparently, Marvel wanted to renegotiate the contract that they had. They wanted to do something a little more towards 50-50. They wanted to help finance the movies, the next two movies from what I understand, 50-50 with Sony. Basically, Sony puts up 50%, Marvel would put up 50%. But here's the biggest difference. Marvel then wanted more than that 5%. You see, in the original contract, Sony got 95% of the movie theater profits, which if you saw the money that they pulled in, that was a lot of money. That meant Marvel Studios got 5%, though they did still have the rights to the toy line, but compared to the movies, they knew they would get more money if they shared the profit with the movies. So Marvel came out and said, hey, we'll help finance it, but you got to give us the exact amount that you make. 50-50, man. Put her there. And you know what Sony did? Nah, man, we're good. We like our contract. You don't like it? We'll walk. Now, a lot of people think Sony is doing Marvel Studios wrong. I am both yes and no on this category because I see it both as a Marvel fan and as someone who has had to deal with making money. See, on the Marvel fan side, I believe Spider-Man needs to be in the MCU, especially since he has now got so many things mixed in. And if he's not part of the MCU, he can't talk about it. It means he can't talk about Iron Man, Happy can't be there, Pepper can't be there, Morgan can't be there, and I really want a Spider-Man Morgan crossover, please. And all the other MCU characters could no longer interact with Spider-Man. But then that also means you can't reference them. That means the whole suit, he couldn't even talk about how he got it from Iron Man because that would be in breach of contract. But now, like I said, I also see this on the business side, the moneymaker side. Sony got the best part of that deal. Basically, they gave their wallet over and said, here, take what you need, make this movie happen. And Marvel did all the work. And in the end, they reaped in the money. I have no exact figures, so think of it this way. Say if I gave Joe Blow $50. I said, you write me a story, the greatest story you ever could. I will pay for it with this $50. But in the end, I get 95 of the profit while you get 5%. And Joe Blow says, sure, yeah, I got it, yeah. So he writes his book, his story, mixing in my character with his characters, and boom! The equivalent of Harry Potter kind of sales. All right. Stories down the road, Joe Blow comes to me and says, hey, you know, since I'm doing all the work here and all that, and yes, you're financing, but I can now put up some of the money too. So I'll pay half, you pay half, and we split the money evenly. As a business person, knowing how much money I made from that, I would go, no. Why would I? And if Joe Blow didn't agree, I would take back the property myself and go, nah, man, we got this. You helped set up my character the way I needed to be. I'll find some writers take care of it. And bam, I would go on. So I can understand both the fan side and Sony side. Do I think this is right? Probably not. Like I said, I think Spider-Man needs to be in the MCU. We even got actors from the MCU saying that Spider-Man needs to come over. Ryan Reynolds has giving little things in Twitter that basically says that he feels that Spider-Man should be over, but I don't know. Right now it's still in limbo. It's not finished. A lot of people are hyping up saying, oh my god, it's over, blah, blah, blah. Starting boycotts against Sony. People are taking their stocks out of Sony and it's having a dive, but here's the thing. It's not official yet. It is not set in stone. But here's the thing. Tom Holland is still going to be Spider-Man. So even if Sony takes over all the production, the writing, anything, we still have 2 movies where Spider-Man's going to be in it. How is it going to work without the MCU? I don't know. I personally think, like I said, it should stay in the MCU, but if it doesn't, I'm still going to go see these Spider-Man films. So until then, I think everyone on the internet needs to hold their horses a little. Don't start this boycott. Don't be doing petitions. Just wait and see, because I'm pretty sure Marvel's going to come back with a new contract or something, and it's all going to get resolved. Spider-Man did so good that there's no way Marvel's going to let it go. Anyways, folks, those are my thoughts on this whole Spider-Man, Sony, Marvel debacle going on. What do you think? Have you been paying attention to this? What do you think? Do you think Spider-Man should stay in the MCU? Do you think he'd do fine in the Sony universe? Let me know in the comments below. Anyways, folks, I'm the Noob. Thank you for joining me, and I'll catch you later. See ya!